Hello everyone, and welcome back to a Chatty reading update. And I apologize for being a little bit inconsistent. Even trying the weekly thing, it's weird how and the minute you start falling off of your schedule, it gets harder. It's really, and I think in a way that's sort of why even Vlogmas kind of helps with you kind of get used to just making videos. And I'm enjoying, I think her name is a new to me channel, Modern Azuma. She's doing a really cute Vlogmas this year. I am missing Story Times Vlogmas, I will say that. And for a brief, fleeting moment this morning, I had the idea of doing a half Vlogmas for myself, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just try and be better about uploading because I do have ideas. I have ideas, but it's funny how so now I am really in my break. I've submitted my grades. Thank goodness, on Tuesday I did that, and today's Thursday. So we're in the break. So the transition to rest, relaxation, and cozy times. I'm really kind of honing in on the cozy because of my perceived and made up lack of coziness during the travel times. It was a great trip, the winter trip, but it was exhausting and hard for those reasons, I guess. But in retrospect, I was watching my own Vlogmas this morning, and I'm so glad I have that Vlogmas to watch. All these silly videos of me lying around various hotel rooms telling you how sick I feel. So I'm kind of, I understand why they're not that popular, because it was just so strange but in a way, I have fond memories. Like I watched the one where on the first day when I made my way to Liberia, the bookstore. That was such a highlight for me, and I did it all on my own. I think if I ever go back to London, it's just me, because I have such strange interests that don't align with other people's interests, unless they're book people. I really just like museums, books, and coffee shops. You know, I don't have to see sights. In London, I would have... and galleries, the galleries, the Tate I want to see, and I'm so interested in the portrait gallery because it sort of it intersects with my interest in genealogy, and since I have this big family that is somewhat well connected in the background, in not recently, because a couple of cousins married well into these big famous families, and that's, you know, why I'm distantly related to Virginia Woolf, Christopher Isherwood. That's a marriage one. Even Virginia Woolf. But see, the cousin married her half brother Gerald, who we won't even talk about him because bad to her. Anyway, so yeah, and it's fascinating to me how there's all these famous people in there. But the series that if I ever do it, you know, but I think I will, I'm going to focus on people that are not that famous, although depending on where you are. One of them is one of the most interesting and intriguing poets, although I don't know how I feel about her poetry, of Australia, a female poet. Her name is Mary Gilmore, and I am quite closely related to her. Her aunt was my great-great-grandmother, so pretty close there. And that's through my mother's father's family, the Locketts, and then the Beatties. They're also far-flung, and there's so that's how I get that connection. And then even the great-grandmother, she was not as well known. She wrote one novel. She had an interesting life. She ran away from her husband, who was, mistreating her with her children, and wrote sort of quasi-feminist women's right type texts, which I think is wonderful. I mean, I have such a strong lineage of these fascinating women who stood up for women's rights, that I feel proud for that part of my family. I feel, of course, very not so proud of the Scottish connections that went to Jamaica and were slaveholders. The Mackenzies in Jamaica. But through them I have Jamaican ancestry too, not very close, but I have some, non-white, for obvious sad reasons. History. That's the thing about genealogy, like skeletons in people's closets and all kinds of stuff. And the further back you get, the more it just turns into sort of mythology, because who knows? And it's funny to see it on. I'm sorry, this is a total tangent. I did not think I would be talking to you about ancestry stuff, but what I do notice on the ancestry.com, like there'll be a picture of our relative from the 1500s, and they have a picture that's obviously from, it's a Van Dyke, so it's someone from the 1700s. The fashion is not correct, and yet he's supposed to be, this is a picture of them, that person, and then you do a tiny bit of research and you realize, no, it's a someone completely different, and all these people have it in their tree. I'm like, the lack of a historical understanding is jaw-dropping, and it's even worse with the young people who live in a bubble. They think for them 1980 is ancient history, and they're very, very anything that, I'm basing this on teaching them, old is I'm old, and that's all it is. It's old. Any kind of like nuance in terms of, I try and teach them, when I teach them about romantic medieval stuff, like this is a picture from 18 something that is a picture of something from before, but it's not a picture from before. Art history, basic art history, that people back in the day didn't know about perspective, whatever. I don't think they even grasp that. And the amount of unknowing in the world today is shocking, and that's why I guess I kind of try and, back things up from what I say to a certain degree, or acknowledge that I don't know for sure. So that's, I don't know where I am. See, I'm already chatting. Yes, the difficulties of getting back into a rhythm of stuff. And the reading is going. Let's see what we're doing. So the main thing is my Blue Sky read along of Henry Fielding's, let me take off the little, I have bought a whole bunch of these pen and ruler holders for my books because I am a bit of an annotator and I like to have it with me. But the book is Henry Fielding's Tom Jones. With this is Tom Jones, and it kind of gives you an idea of how non-Victorian the book already is. It's extremely non-Victorian. This novel overflows with a marvelous assortment of prudes, whores, libertines, bumpkins, misanthropes, etc. So it's very sort of 18th century, and it has the kind of bawdy aspect to it that makes it very unlike Jane Austen, for example. Right now, I'm still kind of in the beginnings. I'm right there, so I've read that much. He's already deflowered one young woman of a sort of lower social class who willingly participated. It's not, he's not a bad guy. That's the thing about Tom Jones. He's not a bad guy. He's just a guy. And he's actually a pretty good guy, supposedly. And then this woman, whose name is Molly, she's walking around, and the upper class person, Sophia, gives her a dress, and she wears it. And then because she's wearing an upper class dress, but she's not upper class, people make fun of her. And then they go on and on about how she has a big belly because she's pregnant. She's big with child, which, even all of that stuff you will never find in anything like Jane Austen, or, it's just a certain type of writing that just is sort of typical of the 18th century. He's funny. It's a funny book. It's hilarious. It has funny sort of almost slapsticky scenes. And so those aspects of it do remind me a little bit of, you see the influence on someone like Dickens. The sort of over-the-top, exaggerated, funny stuff is Dickensian to a certain, or you see the influence on someone like Dickens, 19th century. There's less connection to someone like Trollope, who's all sort of very middle class and which I like too. I like that too. I like the sort of cottagecore aspects, or just the, I don't know. Trollope's different. He's probably more like Austen, I guess. Yeah. So it's going well. I really enjoy having a schedule that we're reading by. It's keeping me honest in a way that if I were on my own, I mean, I really like having a schedule for this type of book because I am enjoying it, but the oomph to read it on your own, the sort of might be a little bit lacking. And so just the little bit of sort of group stuff that we have, I printed out my little schedule here, and then when I've done for the day, I'm already done with the reading for today. That's why I'm sort of a little bit more relaxed. So I'm exactly where I should be for the end of today. And if I'd had more time, but time just runs through my fingers when I'm not, I still kind of would like to get back to my other two books. The main one that I really feel bad about sort of not finishing is Melina. I'm still committed to finishing it. think I will try. I only have about 100 pages or even less. No, about 100 left. So I really want to finish Ingeborg Bachmann's book. But then also this is just this is a fun one. And the fact that it is kind of connected to Tom Jones, because this is the book that she orders in the mail and she's reading it. And this is the book where this next part is called Enter Self-Consciousness, and it's the whole feelings about motherhood and people watching you. I just love her writing style, so I'm excited. Oh, there's a picture. There's a drawing of a house. Nice. Yes, so this will be great. And then the other big read that I have going is a listen, per usual. The Fortunes of War by Olivia Manning, and that's going quite well too. I'm in the second book of it. It's called The Spoilt City. Actually, I'm pretty near the end of that one. And then the last one, well, no, I've got a little ways to go. And then the last one on the trilogy will be Friends and Heroes, but I am just counting it as one big book called Fortunes of War, because that's how it is for me, and I don't really care about, I'm beginning to care even less about numbers of books, because it really is more about the experience of the reading that is enjoyable. And so that's why, as being a slow reader, I do feel so connected to my reading. The only thing is I can tell how projects get kind of are on hold. Like I'm looking at the Marilyn Robinson and Annie Dillard project, which is connected to a Substack. That's another thing that's happening. This is just so much dipping in and looking at cool stuff and getting book recommendations, which I want to talk to you guys about, but not all at once. You know, it has to have some kind of structure. One thing I want to do, I'm looking at my reading thing here, is to keep track of book recommendations. I think I had started one here, books to read. All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Remarque, the German person. I have never read it, and I've never read E.T. Hoffmann's book about the cat called, I don't even know what it's called in English. In German, it's Lebensansichten des Katamor. And one thing I did on the Blue Sky that was fun, and I have a little list going, is I asked people for their favorite 18th century works of fiction. And it was very English-centric, and then I asked it in German, but the German people didn't want to talk to me about that, or they didn't have any. The only suggestion was Jean-Paul, who I already know about, but there are other people in the German field. But in the German field, the 18th century, it's more plays, it's more, you have sensibility stuff going on. Anyway, it's plays. But I'm looking at the list, Defoe, and quite a few women, Anne Radcliffe, Fanny Burney, Evelina, Edgeworth, Maria Edgeworth, someone called Elizabeth Inchbold, who I've never heard of. Oh no, I have heard of her, but that's about it. And I think I read Tristram Shandy, I've read Swift, I haven't read Gulliver's. So anyway, if you have any favorite 18th century, it's a bit of an acquired taste because it's wordy. And I wanted to give you an example of the wordiness, and that was just going to be the beginning of chapter 5 or something. Just to sort of, it's just such a different way of writing. This is and it's humorous. But he writes here at the beginning of chapter 1 of book 5, "Peradventure there may be no parts in this prodigious work which will give the reader less pleasure in the perusing than those which have given the author the greatest pains in composing." Let me see if I understood. See, I have to, even there, now I have to, have I figured it out? Will give the reader less pleasure in perusing those that have given the greatest pains in composing. Among these probably may be reckoned those initial essays which we have prefixed to the historical matter contained in every book, in which we have determined to be essentially necessary to this kind of writing, of which we have set ourselves at the head, etc., etc. And the thing is, the sort of what the plan in these going after is what he calls prosaicomic epic writing. So it's supposed to be a comical epic prose poem. And so one of the sort of hilarious things that you only get if you get it, and I get it because I have notes, is that it's a funny take on things like the Iliad and the Aeneid. And like there is a very funny scene where Molly's the one with child, is being kind of picked on and bullied by her compatriots. I think after they're coming out of church, so they're in a cemetery, and they start fighting with each other using the bones that are lying around of people. and the way, and he uses this sort of comic heroic tone of the battle from like the Iliad to describe these people fighting on it's sort of really bringing it down to they're fighting on a cemetery with bones. It's pretty funny. It is pretty hilarious, but I could sort of see how it's not everyone's cup of tea. And yeah, that's Tom Jones. But I really do feel like this is canonical English literature stuff that you kind of have to read if you're into that, if you want to be a scholar of English literature of any kind, or just it is very fun. I'm glad I'm doing it, but I'm glad I'm doing it with a group, a sort of a casual group of fun and like-minded readers on Blue Sky. Let's see, is there anything else I want to tell you about? No, I think that's kind of it for now. So I'm sorry to be so all over the place, but I think I've sort of said everything I need to say, and we'll see how things go with other ideas, like the one about my ancestors. I'm not sure how, the thing about that one, this might be a reason why it won't happen, is that I do think I would need to script it, at least write some notes, like what I want to say about these people. It's less easy to do that stuff off the cuff. I can't just chat about them because I want to kind of tell you who they are and why I think they're interesting. It might involve a little bit more research, but not that much. It's really just, looking at the ancestry stuff and things like that. Let me know how you're all doing in this pre-Christmas time. Do you all miss Vlogmas? Not mine, for sure not, but other Vlogmases that one needs to know about. It's interesting how past story time we both just decided to not do it this year, and I don't think I'll miss looking back because I'm not really doing much this year except kind of relaxing, some the usual dealing with my issues. I had one thing I'll end on is a sort of personal chatty thing. Is I had a discussion about accommodations at my job to be allowed to do less officially. So, and I could tell how one thing that's hard with chronic stuff is the advocating for yourself and not feeling guilty about it because it's so amorphous. I mean, it's not sort of. I mean, I have all these issues for sure, and I know I have them, but it's the whole thing about, I remember looking at the travel and how there was that one video where I was almost sort of crying a little bit just because it's like, you always feel not exactly not understood, but like you're being, even though people are not questioning it at all, and they're being nice, but there's this way of how you just kind of feel weird about it sometimes, or talking, and also just for me talking about the whole reasons why I have it, because it's connected to trauma, not getting tenure, but all my whole life history basically it's all intertwined, and so it kind of can be sort of, it can bring you down, which is why I'm glad I'm on medication. Because it's like a big tangle of your life, and you're sort of, it's all very personal stuff, which I'm sharing on YouTube, so that's public, so I don't care about that. But when you're kind of talking to someone in the workplace context or in a professional context, bringing in the sort of your deepest, and specifically in terms of pain, it's uncomfortable. It can make you uncomfortable, I think. Or you have to be aware of that. And this was a nice chat. This was not bad at all, but I don't know. It's just life stuff. It's just, life is hard sometimes, especially when you're dealing with pain issues. And I'm dealing quite well with them with the help of medication. I'm still eating too much and not working out enough, but I don't know if that's could be blamed on my issues. I mean, partly it can. I don't have a lot of energy but yeah, it's a bit of a gray area there. I have chatted for too long. Hope everyone's doing well, and I will check in at least a week from now. I'll try and, the Tuesday seems to be, I don't know, I will not let it go too long before I chat with you again, and I welcome comments. Don't get a lot of them, but that's okay. I understand. I don't comment a lot on other people's videos, so but anything is fine. And I know that, I have some subscribers, so I have people who pop in, and that's fine. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.